Right now at noon, fire crews are still working a large apartment fire that started this morning in Phoenix Hill. And just an hour ago, Louisville Fire Chief Brian O'Neill told us that the entire apartment building is a complete loss. This is video from our Sky 11 drone, which shows the crew still pouring water all throughout the complex, and it's still a very active scene. We've been following this story all morning long, and we do know it took over 100 firefighters to gain control of that fire. Right now, WHAS11's Jose Alonso is there. And Jose, what else are fire officials sharing right now?
Connie, what they're telling us right now is that there's still this lingering threat of the entire building falling in on itself. So that's why they're making sure that this area is still kind of blocked off from everybody. That way they can make sure everyone is still safe. And this is happening here at the intersection of Liberty and Hancock. So if you're driving in this area, make sure to try to avoid it. But we're talking about this building right here behind me. And this is a building that's part of 310 at Nulu Complex. And like I said, at this moment, LMPD is still blocking off certain intersections going on around here. We also see fire trucks still in active mode here. Some of them have taken off, but they're still making sure that things are kind of taming down. And the American Red Cross is also out here making sure everyone who is now impacted by this are going to be okay. I was told by bystanders that this is mainly college students that happen to live here, but there are other people as well. Now, we did speak to the fire chief just moments ago, and they gave an update on the 37 units that are being looked at right here.
What you see behind us, although you see the facade still standing, the interior it mostly has collapsed in on itself. So we are looking at this as a total loss right now. Obviously, once we have structural engineers that say certain areas are safe, we want to salvage as much as we can for people. We understand that's their property. It's very important to them, and we want to try to help them do it, but we have to make sure it's safe first.
Now, want to make sure, again, just reiterating, this is Hancock and Liberty Street. So if you have to drive in this area, please be aware what's going on here. That way you're not caught up in what's going on. But thankfully, we did learn that no one, thankfully, was impacted or hurt in this fire, that everyone was evacuated, and thankfully there is no injuries that were reported. So at this moment, they're still just going into this investigation, which is now going to be an arson investigation. That's what the officials are telling us. Reporting live in Louisville, I'm Jose Alonso, WHS11, on your side. Connie?
Good information. Thanks so much, Jose. We'll have continuing coverage on this story tonight at 4, 5, and 6. Just download the WHAS 11 app for the latest updates. Well, police are investigating after a home caught fire in southern Indiana. Tri-Township Fire and Rescue says shortly after midnight, they were called to a home on Pinta Place in Memphis. That's just a few miles north of Sellersburg. Initial reports say that people nearby heard a loud explosion. When fire crews arrived, they found the house engulfed in flames, with 2 homes nearby also impacted by the heat and fire. Fire officials say no one was hurt, luckily. Well, a grand jury could hear evidence against super chef Darnell Ferguson today. Ferguson was arrested by Louisville Metro Police in January. He's accused of illegally entering his estranged wife's home and attempting to strangle her. In his last court appearance, the judge tossed out theft charges against him, but kept the strangulation and burglary charges. Ferguson has pleaded not guilty. He's currently out on bond and ordered to have no contact with the victim. Right now, local detectives are part of a double murder investigation in Florida. One of the men who died there is from Shepherdsville. According to the sheriff's office, Wesley Barber was visiting James Barber Sr. and James Barber Jr. at a home in Largo, Florida. Largo is less than 30 minutes west of Tampa. Deputies say they were called for a welfare check Friday morning. When they got there, they found Wesley and James Sr. dead. Both had been shot multiple times. Police say surveillance camera audio captured the murders, identifying James Jr. as the suspect. James Jr. has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. A southern Indiana man has been charged with multiple felonies after a police pursuit in Jennings County. The Jennings County Sheriff's Office says early Sunday morning, deputies attempted to pull over a car for a routine traffic stop near the county line on State Road 7. Deputies say the driver, identified as Corey Lane, sped off, leading police on a chase. At one point during that pursuit, Lane called 911, where dispatchers urged him to stop. He eventually pulled over on State Road 250 and surrendered to deputies. Lane has been charged with several felonies, including possession of a firearm by a serious felon and violating parole. He is now in the Jennings County Jail. Metro Police believe they've solved a murder from last November. Police have arrested 23-year-old Stephen Robinson Jr. in connection to a shooting in the California neighborhood. On November 7th, police found a man with multiple gunshot wounds in the 1100 block of Dixie Highway. He later died at U of L Hospital. Robinson is facing multiple charges, including murder. He's expected in court next Monday. An Indiana man is facing charges in connection to a stabbing. Around 5 Friday night, Charlestown police said they received calls about a man who was trying to force his way into an apartment on Main Street. Now, when first responders arrived, they say they found a 23-year-old man who had been stabbed. The victim was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. About 20 minutes later, officers say they arrested 27-year-old Ryan Fox, who matched witness descriptions of the suspect. He's been charged with attempted murder and burglary with a deadly weapon. He's currently booked in the Clark County Jail. The Kentucky House will consider a bill this week that could weaken child labor laws. House Bill 255 would remove working hour restrictions on 16 and 17-year-olds. Now, when school is not in session, these teens would be able to work an unlimited number of hours and at any time of day. Lawmakers who oppose the bill argue it could lead to the exploitation of minors, but the bill's sponsor believes it will encourage kids to work more.
I think this is good to get people out into the workplace, get them some work experience, and hopefully they'll get off the couch, quit playing Nintendo games, and actually make money.
It's hard to see how allowing additional hours and days of work will not impinge on the success of preparing for post-secondary education or vocational pathways to good jobs following high school.
Now, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear was asked about the bill, and he says the current laws are there to protect kids' education.
This idea that our children aren't able to develop job skills when we've invested $250 million in career and technical education in our schools is simply wrong.
The bill was added to the orders of the day in the House for tomorrow, and it could possibly get out of the House this week. Well, you may remember it was just last May when 3 Louisville McDonald's franchises were fined more than $200,000 for hiring more than 300 minors illegally. Federal investigators found children as young as 10 years old working in those fast food locations. Right now, 9,000 workers at Ford's Kentucky truck plant are once again threatening to strike. This time, it's over local contract negotiations. United Auto Workers officials say Ford is failing to address health and safety issues, and KTP says it will picket if these problems aren't resolved by this Friday. WHAS11's Connor Steffens spoke with the local UAW president about the possibility of a strike.
Could the largest and most profitable Ford plant once again go on strike?
So it's important for the membership to know that we've put, a perimeter, a hedge of security, right? Protection around our membership.
UAW Local 862 President Todd Dunn says the more than 9,000 UAW workers at Ford's Kentucky truck plant are ready to go on strike next Friday if necessary, over local contract negotiation sticking points. Though UAW negotiators have seen movement on Ford Motor Company's end since announcing the potential move Friday.
Yesterday was a lot of movement. The focus was to engage Ford Motor Company with that tool in the tool belt. To get the negotiations completed, right?
In a statement shared with WHAS 11 News Friday, a Ford Motor Company spokesperson said, quote, "Negotiations continue and we look forward to reaching an agreement with UAW Local 862 at Kentucky Truck Plant." Ford's Louisville assembly plant resolved its local agreement in January. KTP is one of 19 other Ford plants still working to resolve local agreements. Dunn would not speak on specific sticking points during our interview, but in a UAW press release sent out Friday, officials said central issues in negotiations are health and safety inside the plant. It also mentions the company's attempts to, quote, erode the skilled trades at KTP.
There's not many, and we're moving the needle, and I think we're going to close it out soon. I hope we do.
In Louisville, Connor Steffens, WHAS 11 on your side.
This comes after strong comments from Ford's top executive about last year's strike. CEO Jim Farley says the strike changed the company's relationship with the union, and it could have long-standing effects. Farley said Ford is, quote, thinking carefully about where it will build future vehicles. He added, quote, our reliance on the UAW turned out to be we were the first truck plant to be shut down. The UAW made strong wage gains after the 6-week strike at select Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis plants, and top scale factory workers are getting a 33% raise.